Buenos dias, Phil, and thank you for joining us today at Business Spotlight Series. Today, I am excited to introduce Phil Anderson, Managing Director of Phil Anderson Financial Services. Welcome, Phil.
Hi, welcome, Javier. Thanks very much for having me on.
It's a pleasure. So, Phil, the first question I have for you is, how did you end up in the financial services industry? Was it something you from school days you wanted to do, or how did it happen?
Oh, I had no clue what I wanted to do when I was at school. I had numerous jobs, often some of them that I didn't like very much. I was brought up in a council house in Maastricht in Aberdeen, so it's probably a slightly deprived kind of area. But I was fortunate that I went to Robert Gordon's College, which is a public school. Now, I got most of the fees paid for me. My parents had to pay a wee bit, and it's probably actually good that they had to pay a wee bit because they always made me realise that they'd made a sacrifice for my education. But one of the things that kind of drove me was my mum always had a very high expectation for me. She always made it clear, look, we've paid for some money for you to go to this school, so you better stick in. When I was at school, I was quite lazy. That was one of the things that probably wasn't so good, but I never knew what I wanted to do. My mum always had this high expectation, so she just wanted me to have a good career. She had me applying for the police, the prison service. She just wanted me to get into something where I could try and progress and do well. And then eventually I got a job in the Skipton Building Society, just worked my way up there, started off serving customers just on the kind of desk when they came in. My job was at that time to get referrals for the financial advisors, which I turned out to be quite good at. And then gradually worked my way up as a mortgage advisor, branch manager there. And it just kind of evolved from there. So that was kind of how I ended up getting into financial services.
Brilliant, excellent. And has obviously now you are running your own business. Is this your first business that you?
Yeah, do you know what? I'd always wanted to have my own business, but I never had the bottle to do it. So I was a financial advisor at a large solicitors firm. I'd worked there a few years, and I was thinking, oh, what do I want to do? Do I want to get a job somewhere else, or will I stick with them? And it's funny, at the start of that year, I thought, right, I'm going to stick away for a while yet. I could have got a job in Aberdeen, but I was staying about 15, 20 miles outside of the city at that point in time. And I thought, I don't want to be sitting in a car traveling. I'll just keep working where I am, and life will be good. At that time, I was maybe making about 50, 60,000 a year. So it was a decent paying job at the time. And then my second son was born. And just about 2, 3 weeks after that, I got a phone call at the office. There was a wee bit of a kind of property downturn at that point. And I was made redundant. And I'm like, whoa, I never seen that coming at all. Because I was never the top advisor in their firm, but I was always top half, certainly. So it was a bit of a shock for me. And I thought, oh no, what am I going to do? And then I got offered a job at the Royal Bank, and it fortunately never took that because they went kind of, that's when they had their problems just not long after that. But I thought, right, now's your chance to go and do it. When I left the solicitor's firm, I think I got over 3 months' pay up front in lieu of notice, and it was tax-free. So I thought, right, you've got a wee bit of money there to kind of see you through for the next few months, because I had no savings. I had the house, the mortgage, the car, but I was like, right, now's your time to go and set up on your own and kind of see. And I thought, if it works out, great. If it doesn't work out, you can just go back and get a job. And it just kind of evolved from there. It was hard work in the early days, but once there was kind of almost came a tipping point, and once we passed that, the business just been flying ever since. And one of the best things that ever happened to me was getting paid off.
Wow, yeah, amazing. So, Phil, when you set up the business, have things pan out the way you expected?
In the early years, there was a lot of hard graft. I mean, my youngest son's 19 now. Sorry, my oldest son is 19. And when he was little, I sacrificed a lot of time with him because I was working all the time. I think in hindsight, looking back now, you think, I wish I'd spent more time at home. But then if I hadn't made that sacrifice, I wouldn't have got to where I am today. But it was a lot of hard work. I was fortunate that I'd been in financial services quite a few years by the time I'd set up on my own. So I knew how to be a good advisor. What I didn't know was how to run a business. And it's two totally separate things. Probably up until, so I've had my own business for about 14 years now. Probably for the first 5, 6, 7 years, if somebody asked what I did, I would say a financial advisor. Now I'm a business owner. That more than half the time's been spent doing that. And one of the best things I did was actually stop giving financial advice, because at that point, that's probably when the business started to really take off, because I could just focus all my time and energy into running the business, things like marketing, managing the team. So that was a big turning point for me as well. But it was tough going in the early days.
Interesting point you made. You were a financial advisor, and then you moved on to acting as a business owner. So you probably read the book, The E-Myth.
Yeah, I know. That's one great thing. There's so many great resources out there for someone who wants to learn how to run a business. And probably one of the best things I ever did was take on a business coach. I've had a couple of different coaches through Action Coach. And honestly, I totally attribute that to where I've got today. I know through the coaches that I had, the goal was always to have a business that would run and make money without me being there. Now we got to that probably 2 or 3 years ago, but I changed it slightly, and I thought, right, I want a business that grows and makes money without me being here. So I've been very fortunate over the last year. I've kind of worked probably more on a part-time basis, but it's because we've got a business that runs profitably without me being here. And that's because we've got such a great team in place now.
Yeah. Well, let me show the people watching the recording the book.
Yeah.
So if anybody hasn't read this book, it's highly recommendable. The E-Myth Revisited. And it talks about a bit what you said. You start being a technician, in your case, financial advisor, giving advice, but hey, now you're recruiting other IFAs and mortgage advisors, and it becomes a business, and then you have to run the business. So you need to become a manager and then an entrepreneur, and that's what the book is about. It's a blueprint for anybody who wants to set up a business out there. Brilliant. I always say that your business will grow as much as you grow. And what I heard you say just now is that you decided to invest in coaching. You got a couple of business coaches in the past 10 years, which allow you to help you grow as an individual, which the business grow with you. That's brilliant. Tell us what's been, obviously you were here before COVID, during COVID and post-COVID. Do you have to make any changes to such a, Yeah,
it's funny. An interesting story. I think it was in January, the year that COVID came out, just a month or two before COVID was a thing. And I remember I put a post on our company Facebook page, and it's had the little FaceTime logo. And I put appointments available by FaceTime, Skype, and Zoom. And then I remember one of the guys in the office, he said to me, he goes, "What's Zoom?" And I was like, "Oh, it's like video chatting. You can speak to people, kind of just log on online and chat to them as we're doing just now." And I remember the guy said to us, he goes, "I'll never catch on, folk will never do that." But I was like, well, it's an option there. If people want to chat to us via Skype or FaceTime, we can do it. And it saves you going out to see them and save a bit of time. So you'll be a little bit more productive. And also as well, it's like you could speak to people initially, try to qualify the lead, make sure it's okay, rather than going to see them, for example. And at that point, he's like, "Oh, it'll never work." And then just a couple of months later, COVID hit, and then the business changed. Well, the business never changed massively, but the way we did things changed quite a lot. I personally was quite fortunate that I would still come into the office. We've 3 floors, so there would be 3 of us in, one on each floor. So we kind of had a floor to ourselves. But It was quite tough times. We were fortunate that a lot of our income comes from clients that pay ongoing fees. So we had to pivot a little bit and start seeing them remotely and doing video calls during that time. But I can see it would have been tough going for a lot of businesses during that period.
Definitely. Now, obviously, you've expanded the team and you've got around about 14 people at the moment.
Yeah, 14 just now. But at our highest, we were up to 19. I certainly think we could take on another 2 or 3 people just now. But it's funny, somebody said this once, the more staff you have, the more problems you have. And we had that a little bit before, but you learn how to handle it. That's a thing. And if you make mistakes, just try to learn from them going forward as well.
I mean, the more people you recruit, complexity increases because there are more channels of communication with more people.
Yeah.
And, definitely complexity increases. When recruiting, because there are many people here, who will be watching this recording who are, recruiting people, they see it as a problem, increasing the size of the team. Will I be able to pay them, this, that, and the other? When you look to expand the team, what is the key attribute you look in people for with you?
Over the years, I've always kind of thought, right, the first employee I took on was Becky, who's still with us today. So she initially came on to do my admin. So she started off part-time and then gradually did more hours and more hours. And kind of, it's quite daunting when you take on your first employee or then take on subsequent employees. But you need them, the people, if you can get the right team in place. I mean, like I'm very fortunate that they do a lot of the work. And over the last few years, I've been lucky that I can go away on a lot of holidays. And it's great because I've got the peace of mind knowing that if I'm away, everything's going to be fine. Whereas when I first started off, if I went away, you're sure as anything, if there was any issue with that, it was when you were on holiday and it would just spoil your holiday back then. But getting the right team it's difficult or can be difficult. But if you get the right people in place, that's what kind of makes the business get the opportunity to be a success and grow.
Yes, have you read the book Traction?
Never came across that one.
It's this one here, Traction. It talks about one of the key things in the book is getting the right people in the right seats, which is what you just said. So that's definitely sometimes when business owners I haven't got time. A lot of it is because they haven't got the right people in the right seats.
Yeah, it's funny at times. Like see years ago, I used to always think in terms of money, pounds and pence.
Yes.
Time is your most precious thing in life. I've kind of realized that over the years, and that's why I was saying, like, when my oldest son sacrificed a lot of my time back then to build the business. But a lot of the times people make time an excuse. Everybody's got the same time. And I always think if some people can do it, why can't I do it?
Correct. It's everybody. Elon Musk, Richard Branson, you and I, we all have 168 hours a week.
Yeah.
How do we choose to use that time? Because we all have different results.
Yeah.
But we all have the same time. That's interesting.
That's it. If I always think, like, now I look at it and I think, right, if I'm doing a task, can I get somebody else to do it?
Correct.
And it's like, right, get them. The more I can get other people doing, the less I've got to do, or the more, I mean, it frees up time to either work on the business or to take time off or whatever you choose to do. So it took me a while to kind of trust other people to do things.
Yes.
Because you always think, if I'm doing a job, I'll do it better than somebody else. But nowadays, like the guys we've got, the financial advisors and mortgage advisors we've got, they're all better advisors than I ever was. I never felt I was a great advisor, but I always thought, right, nobody's ever going to outwork me. I'm always going to work harder than anybody else. That was always my kind of attitude years ago. But nowadays, I think you don't want to work too hard because you'll just burn yourself out. And I've probably been close to that a few times over the years.
Yes. I mean, if you spend most of your time delivering, your services, then you haven't got time to grow the business. And
I know that's it.
Leverage, isn't it? So
I mean, I watch a lot of Brad Sugar's clips, and he'll often go on about like it's either are you working on the business or working in the business? That's a thing. And
Yeah.
I don't know, the more I work on the business, the better the results have
Yes,
been.
definitely. That's brilliant. So, Phil, what's do you have a favorite book you've read that had an impact on your life you want to share with the
I would say Think and Grow Rich has been a big one now. I honestly, I wish I'd read it years ago.
Yeah.
It's only in the last couple of years that I don't know why I never read it, but
Yeah.
because it would have been recommended to me plenty of times, I'm sure. But
Yes.
it's a great book. I kind of
It's
love
a
it,
great
and
book with a great title, actually. There is a lot
yeah,
to say for Think and Grow Rich. And by rich, those watching this, it doesn't mean money necessarily, but
no,
it's
that's it.
rich means to you. Definitely, it's great for to develop a growth mindset.
Yeah,
And the two ingredients of the book is really to have crystal clarity of what you want to do, and then be pig-headed, determined to achieve that thing.
yeah,
Those are the two ingredients that the book is based on, really.
yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, so and if you had a superpower, if you could choose a superpower, what would you go for?
Oh, crikey. I don't know. I think we've got superpowers. I mean, like, life is so precious. I mean, I've been doing a lot of stuff on family trees lately. And it turns out I'm directly linked to Robert the Bruce.
Oh,
Um,
really? Wow.
yeah. Now, it's funny. I was thinking about this the other day. So his daughter, which would be like my great, 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 great grandmother, um, his daughter died during childbirth. She fell off a horse and gave birth to, I think it was her son that she gave birth to. But I was thinking, I was like, if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't be here. And it's like,
Okay.
it's just, so I don't know, life is just a miracle. So I think we've got superpowers already.
Well, I've noticed in this interview that you are a very grateful person, because I keep hearing, I've been very lucky, I'm very fortunate, and that shows to be grateful for what you've got.
Oh, totally.
So,
I write down, I've got a book, and what I do, one of the things that I find really good to do, I write down 3 things every day as if I've already achieved it. So at the moment, I'll write down that I'm so happy and grateful that I have run the London Marathon. So I'll write these 3 things down in my book, and then I'll write a list of things from the day before that I'm grateful for. And it kind of, I don't know, it just seems to do something magical. My mood's better, and it helps me with the goals as well. You kind of knock them off easily, but like if I look back at the goals I set when I started coaching years ago, it was totally different from what they are now.
yeah.
And you look back at the goals from the past and you think, man, at the time I thought it was going to be hard to achieve, and we did it pretty comfortably. So but one thing I'd always say to people is set your goals, set the bar high, because if you keep striving for that, that's it.
The power of setting goals. If somebody said if you haven't got goals, you have already arrived at your destination.
Yeah.
So a lot to be
Like
said.
I was quite fortunate when I went to school. I left school with 2 hires, so I could have done better than that. But the one thing I learned at school, you were around a lot of it was an all boys school that I went to, and you were around a lot of wealthy lads, and some of them weren't the brightest, but they just expected to do well.
Yes.
So that was just their kind of mindset that had been installed in them from when they were young. So probably the biggest thing I took from school was not so much anything education taught me, but like just almost like mindset and how people think. And that's probably the thing I learned most from school.
Brilliant. Excellent experience. Well, Phil, it's been a real pleasure having you on board with us today at Business Spotlights, and for sharing your experience, wisdom, and candor with us today. Thank you so much.
No, it's fine. Thanks very much for having us on, Javier.
Thank you.